Hi guys, this is a quick video to show you how you could apply contours to a scene. So let's remember what contours are about. When we're drawing a three-dimensional form, to suggest volume, we want to draw lines that are suggesting there is form. So if I draw lines of latitude around this very small circle, it suggests it's a sphere. Now, if you think back to the chocolate orange, and if we think about a pole on a sphere at the top and bottom, and lines, one that's in front of you directly might look straight, but the ones to the side appear to curve. A little bit like this. So onto a sphere, you can use a combination of these things to suggest volume. Remember, on a cube, quite different because of the different faces. So down this side, lines running away from us, lines running away from us, and possibly also vertical lines. And if you do a 3x3, it looks a bit like a Rubik's Cube. You can do the same on the top. These lines are running roughly parallel with the edges, so this side and this side, if they're parallel, these ones are running parallel or in perspective. And finally, the principle of a cone. Again, like the sphere, lines describing the arced surface. So I would wrap them around at an angle. And if I was to run my finger along this surface, this profile, this plane, it would be coming from the top down. Now in theory you've done these exercises, so we're now going to look at the snowy scene I've drawn for you, and we're going to start with something quite straightforward. Let's go to the snowman's head. Now if I draw lines that are flat, it's going to look flat, so I'm going to treat it like it's a sphere. So forget it's a snowman's head. So we're going to start maybe with a line in the centre, but then ones to the side are bending out, ones to this side are bending out. The one in the centre that looks a bit flat doesn't really help. So I'm going to put the contours on that are doing the latitude. And you can see the volume beginning to take shape. I'm going to try a similar thing onto the body. Now the scarf is a little bit in the way, making it tricky, but the buttons are already suggesting volume. Look, they're not in a straight line because they're curving with the camber of his body. Remember, I'm drawing lightly because I'm doing my working out. I'm going to try it now on the big base section. It's a bit wonky, but it is a snowman made of snow. Well, that's what we're trying to convince everyone. You can see the things I've applied onto there. Now, what shape is its carrot nose? Cone. It's a kind of thinner cone than that, and it's at an angle more like this. So what's its contours going to do? And if it was going to have lines, would they be going flat? Would they be pointing to the tip? I'm not going to draw that. What shape is this top hat? Is it cylindrical perhaps? Do you remember we did do a cylinder in the lesson? That's our quick reminder of the cylinder. The profile of the cylinder is vertical, yet the contours would appear rounded. So what will we do on this hat? It sort of tapers a little bit, but the principles are probably similar to the cylinder. What about the little house? If we were to do this, would we want to do roof tiles? If the roof tiles are doing something, would they be following the perspective of the roof? What about these trees? Essentially, they're like little cones on top of each other. Let's go back to the cone. Now, on the tree, you might not see those lines of latitude. So we might just try drawing the lines of longitude in, but see how I'm giving them a little bit of a curve to suggest the pine needles. you could add more detail. What about the logs? Now we've handled a cylinder before. You might have just put some flat lines across the top, but what does the cross section of a log look like? Imagine the rings of a tree. So you could explore the rings of a tree, and as the log is receding, what would be happening on the surface? See how I've broken the lines? So what I want you to do is look at every shape and consider what sort of marks would help describe its three-dimensional form. Look at this rolling hill. You see with my finger I'm already suggesting that maybe it rolls around. Look at this smoke, it kind of twists and turns. What could we do into there? What about this sack? That's a kind of unusual shape. It's not a sphere, it's not a cube. What could you do on there to kind of suggest that it's chunky and has volume? And what would you do on this ground? There's some footprints in the snow, but would there be lines going vertically? Would they be going flat? What do you think? What I'd like you to do is do your best attempt and either share them on Teams or we'll have a look at them next lesson.